In 1955, principals across America did something desperate. They banned blue jeans. Not because of gangs, not because of violence, but because of one actor, one outfit. James Dean wore blue denim in a film called Rebel Without a Cause. He stood against a wall, smoking, defiant, like he didn't care about a single rule society had made. Within weeks, teenagers everywhere were copying him. Not just the jeans, everything. The way he stood, the shirt he wore, the jacket, the boots, all of it. Schools panicked. Teachers called the entire look immoral. Parents feared their children were becoming criminals. They weren't wrong about one thing. Everything was changing. One actor, 24 years old, 3 films, and 10 pieces of clothing that would reshape fashion forever. Not because they were expensive, not because they were designed by famous designers, but because he wore them like they meant something, like they were honest, like they were true. In this video, we are going to count down those 10 items, and we show you exactly how one young man in ordinary clothes became the blueprint for how an entire generation would dress. I'm Jack. Welcome to Worn by Legend. Before diving into the list of 10 items, hit the like button. Let's start 10. By the time Dean made Giant in 1956, he wasn't playing a teenager anymore. He was Jet Rink, a ranch hand who becomes an oil tycoon. And the hat he wears through the film changes right along with him. Early in the film, the hat sits low and worn, the mark of ranch work. Later, the same hat reappears, but everything else around it has changed. Same object, completely different man wearing it. It's a classic Western felt hat, moderate crown, curled brim. The felt is matte, not glossy. Nothing oversized, nothing costume-like. Pushed back slightly, never centered too formally. That exact hat shape keeps resurfacing decades later, on runways and in streetwear, whenever designers want rugged without looking dressed up. 9. Also from Giant. As Jet Rink rises from ranch hand to wealthy oilman, his jeans give way to tailored khaki trousers. It's a small shift on screen, easy to miss. But it's one of the earliest examples of a Hollywood character using trouser choice alone. Not a suit, not a costume change. To signal that a character has moved up in the world. The chinos have a flat front, straight leg, and a higher rise than modern khakis, sitting at the natural waist. Cotton twill, structured enough to hold a crease. The color is a warm tan, chosen to photograph well against denim and leather still worn on top. Chinos became a menswear staple for exactly this reason. Dressier than jeans, more relaxed than a suit. That in-between space is still where most everyday menswear lives today. In several offset photographs, including some of the most reproduced Dennis stock images, Dean wears a simple cardigan over a shirt, often reading or sitting alone. It's not a performance shot. Nobody styled this for a scene. That's exactly why it stuck. The cardigan is a plain wool knit, button front, with a ribbed collar and cuffs, no oversized detailing, an almost academic cut. Worn loose, more often open than buttoned, with the shirt collar left visible at the neck. That same soft, unbothered styling shows up decades later on musicians and actors trying to look thoughtful instead of tough. A direct line back to these photographs. In a number of off-screen photographs, Dean wears thick, dark sunglasses, a style later commercialized as the Ray-Ban Wayfarer. The glasses don't perform for the camera. They block it. And somehow that made the photos more interesting, not less. The frames are thick, dark acetate, with a slightly angular, trapezoid lens shape. Hard edges, geometric, unlike the rounder sunglasses common earlier in the decade. That exact frame shape has stayed in production for over 70 years, with almost no design changes. One of the longest-running silhouettes in eyewear history. In East of Eden, Dean wears a light-wash denim shirt over dark blue jeans. It's a scene most people forget. They remember the red jacket. They remember the white t-shirt. But this moment introduced something nobody else was doing at the time. Denim on denim. 2 shades of the same material. Working people didn't dress that way on purpose. Mismatched denim usually just meant you owned one thing to wear. It read as accidental. On Dean, on camera, it looked deliberate. and that was new. The shirt has structured shoulders and slightly tapered sleeves, cut from a lighter weight denim than the jeans beneath it. The light wash against the darker jeans creates the contrast. Sleeves ending at the wrist bone, hem falling just past the hip. Denim on denim layering shows up constantly in fashion today, from streetwear to high-end runways. Most people who wear it have no idea it traces back to a shirt worn in a 1955 film almost nobody talks about. Before James Dean, Marlon Brando wore a leather jacket in The Wild One in 1953. It read as aggressive. The message was simple: stay away from me. A couple of years later, Dean appears in leather jackets in photographs and offset moments. Same cut, similar material, completely different feeling. Photographers who worked with him described him as tense on set but strangely at ease off it. And in these photos, that shows. The jacket doesn't look like a threat. It looks like something he's using to hold himself together. This is heavy motorcycle-style leather, structured but not oversized at the shoulder, snug through the torso, sleeves ending at the wrist, sturdy zippers, deep pockets, built for function, not decoration. The color runs brown or black, occasionally reading almost burgundy in certain light. That jacket is still one of the most manufactured pieces in menswear 70 years later. The same cut, the same purpose, something tough on the outside, worn by people who don't feel that way underneath. In Rebel Without a Cause, Dean's character Jim Stark wears a red nylon windbreaker. Costume designer Moss Mabry chose red on purpose. Everything else in the outfit was neutral: blue jeans, white undershirt, brown boots. One piece of bright red against all of it, in a film shot mostly in muted color. It's a lightweight red cotton windbreaker with a structured but natural shoulder line, snug through the torso with room to layer underneath. A small collar frames the face without overwhelming it. The fabric moves with the body instead of sitting stiff. That jacket is still one of the most referenced pieces in film costume history. Designers studying color and costume still point to this exact scene. One red jacket against an otherwise gray world. Before James Dean, a white t-shirt was underwear. Something worn beneath a real shirt. Invisible. Cheap. Marlon Brando started wearing t-shirts as outerwear in A Streetcar Named Desire in 1951, and it read to a lot of audiences at the time as undressed, unfinished. Then Dean wore a plain white t-shirt in Rebel Without a Cause, and it stopped reading as underwear. It became the main piece. Medium-weight cotton, crew neckline sitting naturally at the base of the neck, sleeves ending mid-shoulder. Fitted enough through the torso to show the body's shape, not tight. Pure white, not off-white. White catches light on film in a way cream or gray never does. The plain white t-shirt is still the baseline of expensive-looking simplicity in fashion today. One combination: white shirt, blue jeans, that a 24-year-old made permanent. James Dean wore heavy leather work boots, the kind built for outdoor labor and motorcycle riding, not for dress occasions. They sit in a specific space between workwear and everyday life. Not dress shoes, not casual sneakers, and almost nobody in Hollywood at the time was wearing them on screen as a main styling choice rather than a costume prop. Thick brown leather, a grip-soled base, a stacked heel of moderate height, and a shaft reaching mid-calf, wide enough to fit over jeans. Often lightly oiled, aging richer with wear. Snug at the ankle with room in the calf for layering. The silhouette has barely changed in 70 years. It's still the exact boot people reach for when they want to look grounded instead of polished. Here's what most people get wrong. The jeans James Dean wore in Rebel Without a Cause are widely believed not to have been Levi's. Most costume historians identify them as Lee 101Z riders. When the film became a cultural phenomenon, Levi's benefited from the association anyway, and the mix-up stuck in popular memory. But the pair actually chosen for the production and modified for the camera is generally credited to Lee. The costume department reportedly overdyed and modified the denim so it would read more vividly on black and white film. The rise is high, roughly 11 to 12 inches from waistband to crotch, sitting at the natural waist, which elongates the leg. The cut through the thigh is straight, not tapered, in a heavy 14-ounce denim built to outlast the wearer. The color in the famous scenes reads brighter than standard Lee denim of the period, consistent with an over-dyeing process used to make it pop under studio lighting. Before Dean, denim was workwear. Cheap, practical, unglamorous. After Dean, it became fashion. Many schools across America pushed back against blue jeans specifically, treating them as a rejection of the values their students had been raised with. It started with one unglamorous pair of work jeans, worn by someone who meant it. James Dean didn't invent any of these items. The t-shirt existed before him. Brando wore leather first. Boots and chinos were workwear. Jeans were for farmers. Even the sunglasses were mass-produced eyewear. What he did was wear 10 ordinary pieces in a way nobody had seen combined before, and turned all of it into a look that's still being copied 70 years later. If you loved this story, tap like. Subscribe to discover the fashion history hiding in your own closet. Comment below. Which of these 10 items did you own? Which one changed how you dressed? I'm Jack. Thank you for being here at Worn by Legends.